And this would be a
Speaking of-
perfect opportunity, Tom, for anybody to say, I think it's going to be better. Because go ahead and read this story, but I will say, or go ahead and introduce this story. I will say this is an opportunity for Trump to be right about something.
Sure. Trump vows new Canada, Mexico, China tariffs that threaten global trade. This is a Reuters article. President-elect Donald Trump on Monday pledged big tariffs on the United States' three largest trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, detailing how he will implement campaign promises that could trigger trade wars. Quote, on January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders.
That's a Trump.
It's Trump.
Trump said that on Truth Social. Now, here's what it could do.
Yeah.
It could spur them to call us to then say, well, we don't want that to happen, so let's see if we can figure something out ahead of time, right? So that he could renegotiate.
It's a bluff.
It could renegotiate a thing.
Yeah.
Or they could say, cool, we just won't trade with you as much anymore. We'll send stuff to you, but we're not going to trade with you, and we're not paying those tariffs anyways. Who gives a shit? And then they just start trading with other people. They just start opening their markets to trade with other people. Because if it's 25% here to extra to trade with us, right? Mm-hmm. They're not getting that 25%. The United States government is getting it. They have to up their prices based on that. So that's what they're going to do. And the American consumer is going to pay for it.
100%.
And so your avocados are going to go up 25% minimum 25%. Yeah. And so and that includes all produce from Mexico. That includes all imports from Mexico, that, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with Canada. And the American people will do it, or they'll just say, well, that, we were trading with America because we were saving 10% by shipping it overseas. Right. Well, I gave myself a 15% raise by starting to ship instead.
Yep.
And then that's what they'll do.
Oh, I was thinking about this, like my area of expertise may be a strong word, but my area of personal life experiences in real estate. I know I've talked about this before. And real estate right now, which we won't go too deeply into, but housing right now is in a crisis. There is no way around that. We are in a housing crisis. And the housing crisis that we're in is complex, but I would say that its primary issue is a supply issue. So we have a critically short and growing supply problem, which is wreaking havoc on affordability. And there's a lot of reasons why that would be complicated to go into. We get an enormous amount of lumber from Canada. An enormous amount of lumber. If you think housing is expensive now, it's not like you can just be well, I'll just cut down all these American trees. That's not how this works. It's just not how any of this works. I think one of the ideas here is to drive more production into the United States. So in other words, it's too expensive for the outside stuff. That's gonna incentivize a market to exist that otherwise wouldn't exist. Locally.
That's the point of tariffs.
That's the idea.
That's the point of tariffs. If you have to create a whole new industry essentially, or create way more industry than you have now.
But you can't. You can sign an executive order on day one. You can't get lumber permits on day one. You can't just be oh, well, I'll just cut down this national forest. Yeah. That's not how any of this works. Lumber is the primary building material for any new construction home. Any new construction home in the middle of a housing crisis driven by a supply crunch, which is over a decade and a half in the making. The idea that we would take the basic building block of housing and make it a 25% more expensive is fucking nuts. That is a nuts thing to do. Housing is, people are going to scream, man.
Yeah, it's going to be intense. I also read, and I didn't get a chance to really look into it. I also read that there was very specifically that the pipelines that come from the Canada feed us a lot of our gas. It goes into creating, refineries that then refine our gas. And that's how we get gas is a lot. If you put what happens to gas prices?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it goes through the roof. Yeah. And it doesn't just go up by 25%.
No.
Right? And 25% right now, because it's $4 a gallon, you're looking at it's $5 a gallon or more. You know what I mean? So you're looking at a very, very steep, and that's just if it's 25.
Right.
Who knows where it goes from there? And again, it may be that in June of next year, we're doing a show and being like, it looks like they renegotiated our trade deals and our trade deals are way better now.
Right.
It's a possibility.
Sure.
I don't know that they will do this though. I think that their call is bluff. These are world leaders.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the dangers of globalization when you pull games like this, you made this point before, is these countries can simply shift the output to somewhere else. So I think when we had a more localized supply chain, you had more localized leverage. But if I'm Mexico or I'm Canada, I've got a whole world of consumers that will buy my lumber. It's not like my lumber is only useful in America, for example, or my gas is only useful, my oil is only useful in America. I have the whole world as a potential trading partner. And especially for gas, when you consider that Russia's a major exporter of gas, they're under a huge embargo. There are some supply crunch issues in certain parts of the world. They can just fucking sell to somebody else. I get it. We're one of the biggest importers and one of the biggest purchasers. So we have a big swinging dick. But I think they just have to look and say, all right, well, you're going to hurt you more than you're going to hurt me. Yeah. Let's both weather the storm and see how it plays out.
Yeah, see what happens.